For Jackie.
The so-called boss of North Jersey, Jackie Aprile was nothing more than a compromise figure. In The Sopranos, hierarchy is supposed to mean something.
I may be acting boss while the old man's a guest of the government, but...
The acting boss should outrank a mere capo, and with that title one expects perks, wealth, power, luxury. Yet Jackie Aprile's world looks distinctly middle class compared to Tony Soprano's suburban Versailles.
How about a mystery? The mystery is that Rosalie read the Ya-Ya Sisterhood.
Rosalie's modest home, the unremarkable living room where she and friends watch Basic Instinct, the ordinary bedroom we glimpse, hardly screams mob royalty.
I work hard all day to pay for this 6,000 square foot house, big screen TVs, to come home to this?
Sucks to be you.
Meanwhile, Tony presides over a sprawling 6,000 square foot McMansion, scooters scattered across the driveway like trophies of conquest. Why the glaring disparity? Several explanations exist, depending on whether one wants an in-universe rationale or the blunter truth. David Chase needed a big set for his protagonist. The Soprano house was locked in by the pilot, written when Tony was imagined as boss from the start. By the time they restructured the story, Jackie alive, Tony officially just a capo, the show was stuck with its location. From a television standpoint, the mansion was practical. Large rooms allowed flexible filming. The house became a character in itself, a visual embodiment of Tony's self-image as the provider. Jackie, a character who dies early, was never going to get a real estate showcase. Still, the discrepancy makes sense inside the world of the show. Start with construction.
No, you built this house?
Carmela's father, Hugh DeAngelis, built Tony's house as a wedding gift. The discount was massive. Labor, materials, and mob connections slashed the price of any dream home. That immediately takes the edge off the "how could he afford it" question.
And listen, if you don't like that ramp, I'll build you another one. Maybe it's the wood.
In fact, this detail is referenced multiple times, often with jokes about substandard lumber or Pudgy Walsh cutting corners.
Get Pudgy Walsh on the horn. He'll straighten this out.
Pudgy Walsh retired, sir.
But the point remains. Tony's house was never a market price purchase. Next, inheritance. Tony didn't have to claw his way up from scratch. He stepped directly into Johnny Boy Soprano's rackets. Garbage, construction, shylocking.
Your father was a fair man, Tony.
What's that got to do with Junior?
And his long-standing ties to men like Hesh Rabkin. He also had legitimate business fronts that generated steady envelopes. In short, Tony began the series with a diversified portfolio already humming. Jackie, by contrast, built himself up.
I mean, when Jackie was acting boss, no one minded because it all evened out at the end of the day.
And when he was elevated to acting boss, it was largely out of respect for Junior and the family's need for a compromise figure. Not because he had Tony's earning potential.
Now, as far as the rest of everything that Junior owned, it's now mine.
Then there's temperament. Tony is a predator, ruthless, opportunistic, always sniffing out the next dollar.
You know the costs that are involved in our kind of a HUD scam? You got the appraise yet?
His HUD scam, his manipulation of union connections, his brazen stock hustles like Wabistics. Tony treats money like blood in the water. Jackie, by reputation, was level-headed and fair. The kind of acting boss who didn't squeeze captains too hard or nitpick the kick-ups. Admirable leadership quality, perhaps, but not a path to palatial real estate. As one character put it, Tony was a killer. Jackie was a compromise. Add to that Jackie's health. Cancer is not cheap. Treatments devour savings. Legal fees pile up.
Well, was it enough?
Sort of. Not really.
And suddenly the boss of North Jersey is leaving behind a widow who tells Carmela at a charity drive that the money wasn't enough. Whether one interprets that as bad financial planning or as commentary on the cruelty of the American healthcare system, the point is the same. Jackie's resources were drained. Rosalie may have traveled and dressed well in later seasons, but it is heavily implied she downsized after Jackie's death, just as Carmela would likely have had to if Tony had died early.
John's in the cancer ward. She's down the road in some fucking motel.
Ginny Sack's post-Johnny lifestyle demonstrates the same pattern. The wives land hard when the envelopes stop.
Names?
In New York, the only old-style boss still in place is Carmine Lupertati.
The old school versus new school divide also matters. Traditional bosses, think Chin Gigante, lived modestly, blending into their neighborhoods, never drawing heat with flashy displays.
Is this the new Porsche?
The John Gotti school embraced the opposite. Big houses, expensive cars, gaudy suits. Tony, very much the nouveau riche mobster, went all in on conspicuous consumption. Jackie, more reserved, represented the older philosophy. Comfort without ostentation.
Drive into New York Plaza Hotel.
The show even underscores this generational difference in wardrobe, cars, and neighborhoods. Tony's suburban opulence is as much about style as it is about wealth. And finally, geography.
Carmine always said the Sopranos are nothing more than a glorified crew.
New Jersey was always portrayed as a glorified crew compared to the New York families. Johnny Sack, Phil Leotardo, and the Lupertazis operated on a far larger stage. Unions, ports, real estate, drugs, international shipping. Their wealth dwarfed anything across the river. Phil even sneers that historically, Carmine saw the Sopranos as nothing more than underlings. Tony may have made Jersey relevant through sheer earning power, but the market itself was smaller. Within that context, his mansion reads almost as overcompensation. A man determined to prove his worth against the shadow of New York.
He built the Sacrimony House.
The irony, of course, is that Carmela's obsession with appearances demanded a showpiece home.
Wow, look at that entry. What is that, like 3 stories high?
Tony himself might have settled for less flash. After all, living in a palace invites questions from the IRS. But Carmela wanted marble countertops and a chandelier in the foyer.
The Spec House.
The house is a monument not just to Tony's earnings, but to his wife's ambition. Compare this with Rosalie, who appears content with her comfortable enough home and does not measure her worth in square footage. Taste, as always. So why was Tony richer than Jackie? The answer is layered.
You'll inherit this.
Tony had advantages, inheritance, legitimate fronts, political connections that Jackie lacked.
Now, serious is what happens if you don't pay. By my hand.
He had the temperament of a shark versus Jackie's temperament of a referee. He was healthy where Jackie was sick. He flaunted wealth where Jackie stayed cautious. And of course, Tony's father-in-law gifted him a mansion at a steep discount. But hovering above all those explanations is the simplest one. The Sopranos is Tony's story, not Jackie's. The protagonist gets the mansion. The dying compromise boss gets a forgettable living room. Jackie April's modest house reflects an older style of mob leadership, tempered by illness and a philosophy of restraint.
No Verrazano salvage. As for Gene.
Tony Soprano's sprawling estate reflects both his ruthless earning power and his family's hunger for status. One looks ordinary, the other extraordinary. And therein lies the difference.
Poor Jackie.
Jackie represented what the mob once was. Tony represented what it had become. A gilded facade over rot.
Wait, how's the real estate business?
A mansion built on discount lumber, destined to collapse under its own weight. Would you keep listening to this voice in the next video? Tell me yes or no. My choice depends on you. Please.